Alright, welcome to another video. We're going to be doing a full flight. So normally I do some editing. We're going to do a full flight today. I'm going to show you the whole thing. This should be about an hour 15, hour and a half flight from Chicago O'Hare to Manhattan, Kansas, the airport that I do flying out of in real life. There's a decent number of aircraft here. There's one taxiing behind the ramp. None of them sharing our terminal space here, but okay, 747 taxiing, or at least that's the model that's been assigned to it. But it looks quiet, but I did notice that there were a good number of planes in the area before I loaded in. So let's go ahead and get our aircraft configured for departure. Alright, so first thing I got to do is check the overhead panel, make sure we are good to go. We've got AC powers from the AC power supplied by, let me fix my microphone. We've got electrical power supplied by, I think, the APU. The APU should be running. Yeah, so the APU is running, providing us electrical power. Because that's running, go ahead and put the beacon on. Bleed air, so our boost pumps are off. Bleed air set to normal. Bleed valve set to auto. ISOL set to close, and bleed source from both engines. Start stop is showing power available from the APU, so the APU is running. Hydraulics are all off. Cabin pressure, we'll set that in just a moment. Hold up. And we've got air conditioning. Oh, whoops. We've got air conditioning in our aircraft due to the APU running. So turn those on. No anti-ice or anything. No window heat, probe heat, nothing. Passenger signs. Auto as the aircraft, as the people come into the aircraft. The ELT is armed. Emergency lights armed. Let's go to our radio panel. Let's see what the radio is. See who's online right now. Chicago Center is online. 120.35. Alright, so 120.35.
Ready to go to your center.
Okay, and Chicago ATIS 135.4.
2539, heavy fly heading 270, runway.
Sounds like this 747 we saw.
Winds at 21010, gusting 20.
Heading 270,
I don't know why, but ATIS never loads for me. 135.4. Those are the only air traffic controllers that are online right now. So let's see if we can get ATIS today.
2.19er.
Oh, it's working.
Altimeter 2987. Arrival expect vector ILS runway 27 center approach. ILS runway 27 right approach. ILS runway 28 center approach. Simultaneous approach is in use. Recycle runway hold short instruction. Departures expect runways 22 left and 28 right from November 5, 9,750 feet available. North is 2 airmen. Runway 4 left. 22 right closed. Runway 22 left glide slope out of service. Pilots use caution for bird activity in the vicinity of the airport. Use caution for men and equipment at numerous sites on the field. Central de-icing facility procedures in effect. When ready to taxi, contact ground metering advised on initial contact. You have information Bravo.
Okay, so information Bravo is current. So when we call up air traffic control, the first thing we'll say is we have information Bravo. Just letting them know that we have the same information that they do.
At 10 gust 20. Visibility 10.
So that's our wind direction. That's the visibility.
Ceiling 20,000 broken.
Sky condition.
Temperature 29er. 2.19er. Altimeter 2987. Arrivals expect vectors ILS.
And it lets you know what you can expect inbound. So it's all important information.
ILS runway 27 right approach. ILS.
But we got what we needed. Somebody just messaged me. Looks like that's probably my PDC. So you can't see it, but our pre-departure clearance, Envoy 2121, squawk beacon 1362. Planned flight level 380, departure from O'Hare, arrival KMHK, CRJ-700. So O'Hare, 6 departures, a radar vectors departure, PQ is going to be our first, but this is basically our flight plan right here. Our altitude restriction via the climb, well, climb via SID. Top altitude 5,000 feet, speed 250 knots. Expect flight level 380, 10 minutes after departure. 12035. That's the only active air traffic controller. Looks like we're going to get departure runway 28 right at November 5. Contact with ATIS Bravo for taxi. Okay, so I've got my pre-departure clearance. We'll see what that beacon 1362. Gotta change there. 1362. Should have gone the other way.
4422 cleared right to Golf India Juliet. That's Skipper.
Okay, so our squawk code set. Let's go back to our flight plan. So the flight plan's loaded. The O'Hare 6 departure is a vector's departure, I believe. So it's not even loaded. You can't even select it. And I think we got runway 8 right. 28 right, sorry. Runway 28 right.
Roger, clear for takeoff, 28 right.
Runway 28 right. O'Hare 6 is a radar vector's departure, so he's just going to vector us to, or even give us direct to our departure. Now let's get our perfinite page done, and before we do that, we actually need to come over to our performance page, change zero fuel weight, and let me pop. Okay, let me pull up my zero fuel weight. 58202.
Exit next right and then turn right on Papa.
Right on Papa in the rate 275.
Alright, now we can go over to our FMS and set our performance. Perfinite, so flight level 380. It's our cruise altitude, and zero fuel weight should be set already, but we want to, yep, 58202, execute. VNAV set up our climb, so our target climb speed is going to be 290 knots and a Mach 7.4, transitioning at. Transition altitude is 18,000. Our speed and altitude restriction, 250 knots below 10,000. Our target speed and cruise, Mach 7.4, and our target speed and descent, Mach 7.4, and then once we get to the crossover, 290 knots indicated in descent. And that should be it. So our flight plan is set up. Everything should be good. There's no departures or arrivals. This is a radar vectors departure, so radar vectors to PQ or PEQ. And it's going to be radar vectors for the visual into Manhattan, which I've flown on a couple times. Flying American, they're the only airline that services us. So that's our flight plan set up. Go back to our, just go back really quick to our EFB. It's a dry runway, flaps 8. Set our V speeds onto the primary flight display. Rotation speed's going to be 130 knots. And our climb speed, initial climb speed is going to be 148 knots. And then we'll accelerate pretty quickly to about 180.
Numbers 235.
And above.
Continue down Papa, then turn
Now,
left on Golf Golf.
we just need to get the aircraft, finish getting the aircraft set up for pushback and start. So, electrics look good. Don't need the logo lights.
4422.
Beacons on. APU's already going. Hydraulics.
Request higher, please. 4422.
Hydraulics on and auto. Cabin pressure altitude. Let me get the field elevation really quick.
Alpha Sierra 236, radar contacts altitude.
5,000. Alpha Sierra 236.
Alpha Sierra 236, heavy, radar contact 5,000.
Field elevation is 680 feet. I kind of wish that this game,
turn right heading 040, climb and maintain flight level.
Okay, 560.
Alpha Sierra 236.
So I'm looking for 680. So that's this value over here. I think I went right past it. So 760, 40, 20, 0, 80. And 680 is set. Okay. Let me unpause my TrackIR head tracking. So our cabin pressure altitude is set to 680 in case we need to land here. I don't have the checklist up. I'll just pull up this checklist. Personal electronics, blah, blah, blah. A few devices. APU is on and running. Electrics check. Takeoff data set. Got to close the door. Beacon on. Fuel pumps. Ah, yes.
64. turn.
Alright, let's go ahead and close the door.
Actually, let's give you a right turn. Turn right heading 250.
Close the door. Air traffic control.
Captain,
I really hate that you have to control it. I'll just have to come back. Oh, you know what I need?
welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us. Before takeoff, we would like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft.
What is air traffic control? Departure frequency 120.35, and that's Chicago Center 12035.
Taxi contact ground metering advised on initial contact. You have information Bravo.
Okay.
Controlled airport.
Yeah, it's really annoying that we have to connect to ground via the air traffic control panel to do pushback and startup.
236 Heavy cleared direct to E-bake.
So in just a second, let me grab my iPad. So I'm flying with an iPad. Speaking of, I need to get that set up really quick. Because I'm flying with my iPad, like I wouldn't if I was flying in real life. Start my flight tracking. All right, let me pull it up. So we're going to get our clearance to Manhattan. And the way that we're going to do that is through a... the way we're going to do that's through this little acronym CRAFT. So I'm going to write it down. Go down here to scratch pads. I'm going to write it down on here. I'm going to go ahead and set the recording up so that you can
Center, American 27,
see what I'm talking about. If you're unfamiliar,
Grand Rapids Airport.
let this spool up.
827, roger.
Alright, we're going to do, for our departure, it's going to be craft.
American
Gotta get our
27, expect visual
clearance.
approach runway 26 left.
So the, oh, we've already gotten clearance. I'm an idiot.
Visual for runway 26 left.
They sent it to me
American
in, oops. They sent it to me via pre-departure
235 Heavy
clearance.
cross runway 28 right at Golf.
So we're set up
straight
to
ahead to Mike 10
taxi.
today.
Pushback in American airports is by ramp controllers, so we don't have to control ground. But let's just take a look at the airport layout really quick, see what we're going to do here. Alright, so we're represented by this blue dot here. We've been given 28 right. 28 right is this runway here, and that's what I've expected. So we need to push back with the tail to the right so that our nose is pointing to the south. And then we could expect, oh, I don't know, it's going to be a long taxi instruction. It's probably going to be, actually it probably won't be that much. It'll probably be Alpha 15, it'll probably be Alpha Bravo November, and then to Yankee. So yeah, I mean it won't be that bad. We'll just copy it down as he gives it to us. So we'll get ready for pushback and startup. Let's review our departure plate. Let's review our departure plate really quick. Procedure, departure O'Hare 6. So O'Hare 6 pretty much states that
Foxtrot cross number 28 center, then taxi via Sierra, Foxtrot, Sierra 3, and Sierra to parking. Good day.
well, let's do a couple. So we're looking at the looking at the O'Hare 6 departure for Chicago O'Hare. Takeoff minimums 28 right standard.
Bye-bye.
Narratives on the following page. Oh goodness. So we take off the. So this is our initial approach, or this is our first waypoint. PECU. Probably going to be radar vectors. Let's see what the next page says. Oh my gosh, it's not listening to me. Next page, all aircraft. Expect radar vectors for first en route navigate fix. Expect clearance to requested altitude flight level 10 minutes after departure. So it's a radar vectors departure. Second one, all aircraft. Cross 5.5 DME arc of GCO DME at or above 3000. So cross 5.5 DME arc of GCO DME. So what is that? That's this right here. So that's the Chicago VOR. So what that's saying is that you need to be at or above 3,000 feet once you are 5.5 miles away from GCO. Then you need to be 4,000 or above once you cross 8.5. We'll be well below that, or well above that. Maintain 5,000 or assigned
yeah,
altitude.
Okay, I can see that. 070 American.
So as far as assigned altitude goes,
63, 64, cleared brake pump.
our assigned altitude is 5,000. Okay, so we'll set that up in the PFD. So let me unpause my tracking. We can expect 5,000. We're going to put our top altitude in here. It's default to 10,000, but we're going to put 5. Okay, and we'll put the runway heading in. So the runway heading for the runway we're taking off is, so it's 28 right. And 28 right is 273 degrees. 274 degrees. So runway heading is 274. Put 274 degrees on the heading indicator. That's what I was trying not to do. Took the long way around. 274. So our speed's set, heading set, altitude, top is set. So our navigation stuff is set. We need to set up our VOR. So VOR for TME purposes. Let me go back. So the let me clear this really quick. This is the VOR. So this is the Chicago VOR 108.25. And we're going to be measuring our distance from that. So 108.25. I don't know on the CRJ how, if they have like a, so I think it's 108.25. So now I've got 108.25 in COM 1. So DME, okay. So we'll see what that does. I have never used this stuff, but there you go. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that aids our thing. We should get a distance measurement. So I think that's telling us we're 1.2 from the GCO. But that doesn't make sense because GCO should be less than a mile in. But I guess this is a pretty big airport, so it could actually be a mile 0.2 away. All right, so we'll review that when we get taxiing here. Let's go ahead and get this ready for
137, fly heading 170.
push back and start up.
Correction, fly heading 270.
Gonna go from top down, left to right. Lights are set, bleed is set, hydraulics are set, cabin pressure set. Okay, our panel is set.
090.
And we've got our pre-departure clearance. Wheel chocks removed.
Initial climb is 3,000.
Checklist.
3,000 for American.
Wheel chocks removed. Boost pumps are on. And we're ready for pushback. So I'm going to leave this frequency really quick. In fact, let's switch the frequencies up.
59,700.
Tune ground. Request pushback. Tail to the right. So we're going to get, let this thing go for a little bit. Undo the parking brakes. Parking brakes are removed. Any moment now. Any moment now we should start our pushback. Are we? Someday. Alright, start our pushback. I didn't check to see if any aircraft were behind us, but that'll be okay. And then steer to the right. You know what? I believe it's going to be steer to the right. Yep. Alright, now we can go ahead and start the engine startup. So it's always going to start our engine right first. Okay, the bleed air shuts off. The air gets redirected into the somewhere in the engines, somewhere in the turbines, to get them the oxygen needed for engine combustion. Once this gets up to about 21-22%, we will go ahead and open the fuel valve, inject fuel into the chamber, and let the engine start spinning. Okay. Engine power is increasing, N2 is increasing, and one's going to slowly start to increase. Should start to see oil temp, and let's go ahead and stop the pushback. Okay, I'm going to close that. We don't need that anymore. Set the parking brake. Parking brake set. Oil temps on the increase. Oil pressure's increasing, so the engine startup is going well. ITTs are on the increase, and one should stabilize at idle, which I think is in the high teens or low 20s. All right, engine 1 has started. Let's go ahead and get our that started, and we can go ahead and set
American 27 back to the visual approach runway 26 left.
Visual for runway 26 left, American 27.
All right, engine 2 is stable, 21.1% N1, and we'll start engine number 2. Or sorry, engine number 1. Go ahead and exit this.
Thank you. And confirm you have 27 center scenery. If you have add-on, I think Key has it and the Dream Team has it.
Yeah, we don't. We'll probably going to need either 2-8 center or 2-7 right.
Okay, expect 2-8 center.
Thanks, we'll expect 2-8 center, United 447.
Okay, the engine's starting just fine.
9384 Echo. Correction 9348 Echo.
Engine startup's looking good. Again, we're watching oil temperature, oil pressure on the increase. So, if those did not increase, it would tell us that there's a issue going on there.
Forward Echo.
And engine number 1 and engine number 2 are both good. Set our trim performance.
Skies clear, altimeter 2988.
Trim for takeoff is going to be 7.3. All right, 7.3 set. All right, let's go back to our overhead. Engine power's good. We don't need any of this. We don't need that. Low windshield heat, probe heat on. Don't need those. So everything is set on here. Okay. And now we just need to set up our flight control surfaces. So Mach trim,
27, turn left heading 360.
stat trim, yaw damper.
Left heading 360, American 27.
Mach trim. Oh goodness.
Continental 4422, Levi space to the east. Cleveland centers offline. Radar says it's done.
After start, generators auto, electrics checked, bleed valves auto, put packs on, APU's on. We can go ahead and turn the APU off on the nose wheel steering, and we've got the anti-ice set as we need to. So stop that. Power fuel off. Okay, taxi recognition lights on. Packs were on already.
American 27, turn left heading 290, join the runway 26 left low plaza, then call the field in sight.
Left heading 290, you said?
I don't know if that should say avail anymore.
American 27, turn left heading 290, join
but let's go to our
left low plaza, then call the field in sight.
electrics page.
Left heading 290, join the 26 left localizer and calling the airport in sight. American
so power is being supplied by engines number 1 and 2. External AC power is not. So these should both be off because we are not connected to. So that's supposed to say off.
International Airport via radar vectors Bradford, then as filed.
Now we should see. All right, that's what we should see. So AC electric, this should just be the engines, and then DC. Cool. We are good on that. So go back to primary. Oops, nope, not primary. There, nope, not that either. Uh-oh, status page. That's what we want. All right, now we need to do a flight control check. So let's get our flight controls pulled up. It's gonna be F control, flight control check. Left, right, up, down, left rudder, right rudder, and all together in the box. Okay, so flight controls free and correct. Back to the status page. Okay, flaps for takeoff are going to be set to 8. Trim is set for takeoff, so let's go ahead and do our taxi checklist. Stats, flaps set, flight controls check, trim set, thrust reversers armed.
Altimeter 29992, runway 22 for
Thrust
departure.
reversers are armed. Flight instruments check, brake temp. Not even going to bother. Okay, parking brakes. Check that. And let's taxi to the end of the ramp and get our taxi clearance. So this ramp area, this area that we're taxiing on right now is controlled by a ramp controller and not controlled by air traffic control. So we're going to taxi to the end of the ramp here, hold, and then we'll call up ground for taxi instructions. All right, if we look over here, takeoff config is okay. So we are all set and ready for departure. Alright, so I'm about to make my first call to air traffic control for taxi, and we're just going to hold short right here. Let me pull up my handy dandy notepad, make sure I can write down all the instructions that we need. Scratch pad. I don't know why, but oh, okay. I didn't set my parking brake. Chicago Center, Envoy 2121, request taxi.
Envoy 2121, runway 28 right at November 5, taxi Alpha 15, November.
Can you repeat that for Envoy 2121?
Stand by American 27, do you have the field?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yes, we do have a field in sight.
So I'm asking him to repeat it because I didn't quite see what he said after 28 right.
Left, wind is 21.
So 28 right via Alpha 15, I think November.
Runway 26 left to land.
I think it's November 5.
Runway 26 left, American 27.
Envoy 2121, runway 28 right at intersection November 5, taxi via Alpha 15 and November.
28 right, intersection November 5 via Alpha 15, November, Envoy 2121. Okay, so what he means by that
9348 Echo at Pollston
is that we're going to go via Alpha 15 to November and then hold short at November 5. So that's this right here, November Foxtrot, or November 5. I thought we'd get full length, but I guess is a really long runway, so I guess theoretically we don't need it. So let me delete this really quick and clear this. And let us begin our taxi to runway 28 right. I think these should be, yeah, Alpha 15's right there in front of us. What is that vehicle doing? I don't understand. Should tell ground control that this guy's got to get out of our way. So Alpha 15 is, gosh, I need to look down. Alpha 15 is the taxiway to our left there. Oh, the forklift. Like, why is there a forklift out here? We scared him. Alright, so taxiway Alpha 15. Looking at this intersection here, make sure there's no aircraft in the vicinity. Alpha 15 to left on November. Okay, we are on Alpha 15. I guess technically Foxtrot. And make a left onto November. And we're looking for November 5. So November 5 is the very next taxiway. Alright. We are just about ready for departure. I'm using live weather. I don't know what the weather is here. Live weather in this game has been bugged for so long. Live weather's been bugged for so long. Let's check the latest METAR. I could listen to the weather. Technically should have it. So 230, 11 gust 19. So the wind's going to be a left crosswind. Crosswind from the left. Unrestricted visibility. Broken 2,000 or 20,000. So doesn't look like broken at 20,000 to me in the game, but temperature of 30. Our outside air temperature is pretty close to 30. Altimeter 2987. So, yeah. I think we're approaching November 5. Yes, we are.
Chicago Center, United 442 radio check.
Bye-bye.
Alright, November 5 right here. So 28 right, November 5.
Alright, 442, you have 27 center scenery?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your last 442?
Do you have runway 27 center scenery, and that's the new northern runway?
Oops, didn't mean to stop.
I do not think I do.
Alright, let's get our takeoff clearance. Alright, cross flow override set to auto, or set to manual. Lights and strobes on takeoff clearance. Fuel flow set to manual. Flight attendants advised. TCAS set on. Radar terrain display is not modeled in the game. Crew advisory system checked. Takeoff config okay. Chicago Center's Envoy 2121 holding short runway 28 right, November 5.
Runway 2121 flying 250, runway 28 right, November 5, clear for takeoff.
Heading 250, 28 right, November 5, clear for takeoff, Envoy 2121. Quick change to our heading, so it's going to be a left turn for 250. I believe 250. Hope I'm right. In reality, if I wasn't sure, I would clarify, but hey, it's flight sim, so. Okay, takeoff clearance has been obtained, so landing lights and strobes are activated as we taxi onto the runway.
Approaching runway
and we'll verify as we get onto the runway
right.
that our heading is correct. We're on the right runway,
runway
so here's 28 right.
28 right.
Runway 28 right. Should see 28, 275, 28-ish rolling on the heading indicator as we taxi onto the runway. Going to use the maximum length of the runway available to us, so turn onto the center line here. Alright, power set to 50%. Release the brakes and take off. Toga power set. Forward pressure on the yoke until we pass 80 knots. Alright, takeoff power is set. 80 knots. Maintaining center line. Alright. Approaching V1 and rotation speed. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. There's that crosswind. Alright, let's go ahead and pitch up for our initial climb. 15 degrees. Okay, initial heading of 250. I guess there's thunderstorms in the game. 5,000 is our initial altitude, so go ahead and bump that back to climb speed. Slides and flaps up to 1. Oh, I blew through my heading indication. Heading.
American 27 is disconnecting. Thank you so much for the amazing.
Heading, and let's go to speed mode.
Bye-bye.
Actually, is that what I need? Yeah, climb 287. Top altitude 28. Bug up to 250 knots.
98, correction 9348 Echo, turn right, heading 310, vector for file.
Flaps up.
3104, that goes.
Reverser's off. Auto ride off.
3945, runway 22, taxi Alpha.
Bring our power way back so there's no...
Runway 22, Alpha.
There is no auto throttle in this aircraft, so you have to do the power adjustments on your own. And we're going to have to maintain 250 knots
Cargo
here.
information, Charlie is now current. Wind is 23011, gusting 19. Altimeter T9er 87, visibility is 10.
Okay. Okay, that is actually... Now, the clouds actually do look represented. That's cool. Live weather's not too bad. Chicago Center, Envoy 2121, 5,000 feet on a heading of 250.
Wood 2121, thanks, radar contact 5,000. Cleared rate PQ, climb maintain, follow with 380, resume normal speed.
Direct PQ, climb maintain, climb up to 380. Envoy 2121. Alright, so we've been cleared to climb.
Normal speed.
And resume normal speed, Envoy 2121. So we're cleared to 380.
384 Echo, descend to maintain 3,000, expect visual approach on
Set this to 380.
Descend maintain 3,000, expect.
We could do this for now. Speed mode, so that means we're going to climb. Set climb power.
United 447, maintain 11,000, keep your speed up.
Climb set, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up to 380.
United 447, heavy vectors for the ILS from a 27. But you remind me, do you have 27 center or not?
Alright, we can go ahead and turn the DME off. Don't need the DME from that VOR.
It was 28 center you wanted, that's fine. ILS 28
Direct PQ means that we can now proceed direct PQ along our flight plan. So I've got climb power set for 250 knots. Once we clear 10,000 feet, we will accelerate the plane to our target of 290 knots. We've been cleared above 18,000, so we'll go ahead and set this to standard. So in speed mode, the pitch is controlled by the airspeed target. So if I slow this down to 220 knots, the aircraft pitches up to slow us down. So the power doesn't change, the pitch does. So we just passed 250 knots, so I'm going to speed us up to 290, which means the aircraft's going to pitch down to accelerate that. The climb power stays the same, 86.1. The only thing that changes is our pitch. So we're going to climb up. We've just passed 10,000 feet, so we can go ahead and turn those seatbelt signs off. And our landing lights can come off as well. Beacon and strobe lights stay on. Everything looks good up ahead, above. And now let's go ahead and review our climb checklist. Oops. Set back to auto, bleeds and APU set, thrust reversers off, crew advisory system check. And now it's just monitoring our climb and flight management. Making sure that our heading indication always matches our present heading. That way if our flight management computer ever just gets screwy, we can go ahead and take control.
57, Chicago Center, good afternoon, number 22 left, taxi via Yankee.
22 left via Yankee, Southwest 657.
Now for some reason, it's blowing through our target speed of 290 knots.
United 2539.
Supposed to be doing a 290 knot climb.
The West Mini Centers offline. Radar services terminated. Reach entry out flight.
Now these are the many
2539. Good day.
problems that we get with this game in the current state that it is. A lot of autopilot issues. This should be right on the money with 290 knots. I really don't know why it's doing that. So I'm going to let it catch back up to 290 knots, put this back in climb mode. Climb power is set.
American 3945, runway 22, line up and wait.
Let's set this back down to 290.
9447, heavy descend, maintain 7,000.
But you can see our speed just continues to increase. So the now it's actually pitching for climb. It looks like. So we've accelerated our climb per minute, feet per minute, to 3,600 feet per minute. Yeah, I don't know if that's an error with the speed tape. It seems to be catching on now. It could also be that the winds were changing too quick, but you can see that our speed, you can see that our feet per minute climb has increased to 4,400, now 500, and increasing. So it's doing that to lower our speed back to 290. So it's going to keep pitching that nose up until our speed is set to what it needs to be.
657, holding short runway 22 left, ready to go.
So we're now, making our way up to our cruise altitude.
Now for 657 flying 250 runway 22 left.
Sure look blurry.
Midway winds are 23016, car speed 23, altimeter check 2987.
Much better. So our climb is now
Clear for takeoff, run
right on the money speed-wise. So we're at 290 knots.
987.
Losing our visibility as we fly into those clouds. That broken layer at 20,000. I gotta say, well, live weather has improved tremendously since we started out. Okay, so we're entering some visible moisture here in the name of cloud cover, and the temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius. So icing is now a concern. So we'll go ahead and throw on our de-icing. And as you just might have heard, the engine power has now decreased a little bit. So we need to make up for that lost power. Set our power just a little higher to maintain that climb. Toga power may be what we need.
South for 6, just confirm heading 250.
Confirmed heading 250 at Southwest 657.
Beautiful day to fly. And wow, look at that sight. Now that's something I can't wait to experience in real life. Breaking through, breaking out over the broken layer. What a sight. Alright, we can go ahead and turn that go ahead and turn that stuff off.
270, fuel will be 12 o'clock, 7 miles.
Set it back to climb power. And the aircraft will fly itself from here on out. Once Mach 7.4 shows up here and matches 290 knots, that's going to be what we call the, can't remember what it's specifically actually called, but basically that's the crossover point from which we stop tracking indicated airspeed, start tracking Mach.
Number 934 Echo, wind 210.11 over 27 cleared land.
Alright, so we are proceeding on course, so we'll take a look at our, just for some situational awareness, here we are. See that we are right here. We are just now getting ready to cross, well, we've crossed PQ. We're on our way to Pippin. From Pippin, we'll make a left-hand turn. So we're flying by GPS waypoints. You can see that, oh, actually, hold on. Let me go to the US IFR high. There we go. So this is for, like, jet traffic. You can see, though, that we're not flying any prescribed airways. We're going direct GPS waypoints. So direct PQ, direct Pippin, direct Alina, direct St Joe VOR. And that's because of the RNAV capability of the GPSs. So when I fly IFR, I'm having to fly via low airway. So basically VOR hop. On my older 172 mic, we fly VORs, so you know we would be flying into this VOR and then fly this airway to the the Burlington VOR, and then this airway to the Kirksville VOR. So it's less fuel efficient, but it's safe. That's the whole point of IFR. Instrument flight rules is safety. So now we can go ahead and switch to indicated to Mach. And set this to Mach 7.4, and the aircraft should do the rest. So right now we are en route direct Pippin, and from Pippin we will proceed. Pippin being and you can see, so all these right here, Jerky, Zigal, Pippin. These are GPS fixes, GPS waypoints.
You
You can tell that because they're 5 letters, so like 5
Holding
letters,
steady at 3000,
and the blue
Southwest
star
657.
looking thing.
Contact 3000, climb
The
8,
alternative,
340.
these are jetways.
Climb
These
8,
are
level
intersections.
340,
So that's the
Southwest
intersection
657.
of this VOR radial and this VOR radial. So that's what the definition of a fix is. And then the GPS fixes are just GPS waypoints that are out there. There's a ton of them, and they're kind of the primary means of traveling these days. So we're going direct Pippin, and from Pippin we'll go to Alina, and from Alina we'll go to St. Joe.
Sky Center, hello, it's Piedmont 436 on the ground at O'Hare looking for our IFR to Minneapolis.
Okay, so we've just passed 30,000 feet, 31,000 feet. You can see the half bank indicator has now come alive.
So
that's just going to smooth out those turns. This magenta arc right here, this magenta arc is the top of climb. So, well, yeah, so that is the arc distance, right? Basically the distance from our current position, where on that flight plan that we're going to beat 38,000 feet. Just a situational awareness thing. What was that about? It's a situational awareness thing. Oops.
The squawk is 1317.
Alright, that was an accident.
1317, Piedmont 436.
So everything's looking good, maintaining Mach 7.4, a little under Mach 7.4, but not too much of an issue. Climb power is set, climb, so we're in climb mode still for Mach 7.4. Once we hit top of climb, we'll have to go back into manual and just monitor direct PQ, somebody behind us. Anyway, once we get to the top of climb, we'll have to monitor our engine power ourselves, maintain Mach 7.4 for cruise. There is no cruise checklist. It's basically monitoring weather, monitoring, flight plan, making sure that we are making hay as we should. And everything looks good. So as we reach top of climb here, let's go ahead and set our overhead for Manhattan's elevation. I actually know that, obviously, by heart. It is 1,079.
Are you facing south? You can taxi.
1,100, so 1,000.
Yes, I'm facing the south 442.
Field elevation of Manhattan's 1,079 feet. Flying there all the time, obviously, I know that. So a little bit of a mismatch between the actual Mach number and the
ground number 427,
whatever you call that, the bug, with the bug location. So we're doing Mach 7.4 right now, and the bug shows us being under Mach 7.4. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy between those two. That might be Mach 7.4 at cruise, because you can see it keeps descending down. So maybe by the time we get to 380, they'll match up. But we are flying Mach 7.4, and we're currently holding Mach 7.4. Take a look at our hydraulics. All of our hydraulics are in the green. And our electrics in the green. I don't know the specific values, what they're supposed to be. I just know that they look green and they look good. And of course I have no failures. Fuel's looking good. Auto. The cross fuel is on auto. We have nothing in the center tank. It's all in the wing tanks. APU is not currently running, so it's not using any fuel. And so everything looks good, man. Everything's
Alpha 9, Bravo, Alpha 15, November.
everything's looking good. Cabin pressure is set. Sorry, landing altitude is set to 1,080 for when we get to Manhattan. Cabin altitude 6,800 feet. So if you're in the cabin right now, the air that you're breathing is the same that you would be breathing at a pressure altitude of 6,800 feet, which would be some higher, somewhere in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, you'd have to go up to be breathing that air pressure. The delta pressure, so that's the differential between the cabin altitude pressure and I think the external air pressure, says it's 8,500. I'm not sure I believe that. And also, obviously, I'm not an expert in that. But cabin temp, 10 degrees Celsius. It's pretty cold. That's it's actually really cold. 10 degrees Celsius is like 40-something degrees. So, hope you guys enjoyed the cold air back there. What was I going to do, though? Oh, I was going to check to see if... well, it's going to reset the heading bug. So, I'm going to center the heading bug on our current heading of 253 degrees. So 253 degrees will hold our current track. So you notice that the aircraft is not pointing in the direction a couple degrees to the right of that. That's because we have a right crosswind. So the wind's out here at 313 degrees at 40 knots. So we have to basically cock the nose into that. We are currently approaching our top of climb, so I need to monitor our speed here, because pretty soon here the aircraft's going to start to decrease pitch.
You can cross runway 7 left.
And we're actually underneath our target speed, so we'll accelerate a little bit. We want to be at Mach 7.4. We're currently Mach 737. Alright, we're approaching our target altitude of 38,000 feet. Autopilot's going to do everything for us. As the nose starts to lower, climb rate starts to decrease, and we'll start to accelerate. So there's Mach 739 and 7.4. So I'm going to pull that power back, and we want to maintain Mach 7.4. Now there's no arrival into Manhattan, so it'll be curious if air traffic control is... We're going to get handed over to Kansas City Center at some point, and I don't think Kansas City Center... Oh, they are! Awesome. 12572. 12572. Alright. Let's get our engine power set so that we don't lose speed. And let's set 127... Oh, let me pull that up one more time. Kansas City Center, 125725. So I'm setting up Kansas City in there so that all we have to do is push the button, switch the, call it staying ahead of the airplane. It really reduces your workload, especially if you're flying something old school where you don't have autopilot, or at least not as robust of an autopilot system. Looking outside, it's a nice day. Manhattan's weather, it's clear skies. Maybe just a little touch of wind. Should be a really simple approach into Manhattan, Kansas.
Ready to taxi 28 right.
It's very cold outside, negative 31 degrees Celsius.
1051, runway 2 at right, November 5, taxi via Bravo.
Gotta try to accelerate our speed up to Mach 7.4 as we expect it to be.
Taxi to runway 28 right, November 5 via Bravo.
The approach into Manhattan, Kansas is going to be a visual one, but we'll back it up with the RNAV. So we'll just request that from air traffic control. I mean, we're coming in from the northeast, so it's basically going to be a straight in. Actually, we don't need to do anything. We can actually just load the approach. So let's do that really quick. So we'll have air traffic control guiding us in, so they'll give us our descent. Departure arrivals, RNAV 21. And we will, let's take a look at our approach.
Yeah, 2659, 5000.
Taking a look at our approach plate really quick.
2659, radar contact 5000, turn right 090, climb maintain about 310.
Pull up our Manhattan approach plate. Procedure approach. So we're going to fly the RNAV GPS for runway 21, so let's go ahead and look at that really quick. Alright, so this is the RNAV GPS runway 21. Oh, shit. Let me retry that so you guys can see what's going on. Alright, so we're going to be flying the RNAV GPS 21 for Manhattan Regional. It is a WAS GPS approach. Final approach course is 216 degrees. Some information about the runway landing, so 7,000 feet runway. Touchdown zone elevation 1048, airport elevation 1066. Our initial fix is going to be Burmy, so that's what I'm going to select. I'm going to select Burmy, and if we get vectors, that's fine. Execute just loads it into the flight plan. Go to our legs page, and I'm just going to leave that discontinuity there for now. Getting a little too fast there, so I'm going to pull the power back just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to intercept Burmy, and let's see, what's our altitude restriction on there? It looks like 3,100 feet, so that's our minimum safe altitude, 3,100 feet within 25 nautical miles.
United 442 radio.
We're going to be on Kansas City Center, but if Manhattan Tower shows up, 11855, Marshall GCA 12125, weather on 119.075. None of these are going to be running because we are on VATSIM and not in real life. Okay, so our minimum altitude inbound is 2,800 feet here. Goki is the final approach fix, and if we look at that, we're going to be intercepting at about 2,800 feet. We should intercept the flight slope. Our minimums today are going to be, I believe, LPV, so 1,248 feet, so that's 200 feet AGL. So go ahead and set that up. 200 feet AGL decision height. I don't know if that's 200 feet MDA, so it lets you set the two up.
3945, 17,000 was the finals today.
This is so DA or DH 200, but I think that's.
Maintain 17,000.
I'm gonna set it to 200. Should be AGL, but I don't know for sure. Oh, is that why it says minimums 1,000 times? Anyway.
Yeah,
decision height set
17,800. Are you
1248, 34 statute miles visibility. We're not gonna have to worry about any of that. In fact, we're gonna be given a visual approach. There is a NOTAM for this, but we're not gonna look at it because we're in the simulator. Take a look at our speed. We're still slowing back down to 7.4. Right, so yeah, we're gonna do the straight in visual, backing it up with the RNAV 21 GPS. Fly it down, let it help us get in there, because visual approach in a jet, I'm sure, is a little difficult, more difficult than say in a Cessna. So we're not going to circle, so the circling doesn't matter. Baro VNAV not authorized when using Marshall Airfield altimeter setting. So if you couldn't get the altimeter setting from, and that's in these notes here, if you couldn't get the altimeter setting from Manhattan, you can use the Marshall one, but it's not not authorized for the Baro VNAV. LNAV VNAV not authorized below negative 17 Celsius or above 46 degrees Celsius. Neither condition applies. DME RNP, so non-precision, or DME RNP 0.3 not authorized. When local altimeter setting not received, use Marshall Airfield altimeter setting. Increase LPVDA. Increase the LPVDA to 1264 feet. So basically, we're raising our minimums if we have to use a different altimeter setting that's not actually at our airfield. Increase all MDAs 20 feet and visibility Cat C 1/8 statute mile. None of that applies to us today. And for our missed approach, of course, we're going to climb to 3,800 feet. Direct Belv. Belvy is somewhere in this area. It is not depicted on the chart. And then, of course, these are our missed approach values there. So, that is our approach briefing for the day. Of course, we're probably just going to get vectors for a visual because Kansas City Center is online. Speaking of Kansas City Center, we are just about to hit the boundary. So here's the boundary. Let me pull up. Boundary is right here. So we are about to enter Kansas City Center airspace. We'll be given Kansas City Center pretty soon. Let me clear that.
2295, radar contact, flight level 360, time maintain flight 370.
370 and 2295.
Are you on FS 2020 again?
So we will be, man, see, this is why you look at your, this is why you look at the plane, the instruments when you're doing IFR and not just down at your lap the whole time. So I'll accelerate us back up to Mach 7.4 to speed us up. But beautiful day to fly across the United States. Very, very beautiful day to fly. Some mid-level ceilings, upper-level ceilings that were kind of floating above. Makes for a really pretty, oh man, it just makes for a really beautiful, beautiful flight. We're about 107 nautical miles from Elina. So, yeah. Now, in real life, take a moment to talk about real life. When I launched this channel, I wanted to document my journey, and I'm still kind of doing that. From a zero-hour pilot to a private pilot to an instrument pilot, etc. The ultimate goal is to be an airline pilot and do stuff like this, but in real life, not on a computer sim. I'm actually approaching. I think I'm about 2 hours short of my hitting the 100-hour mark. So everything's been going well. Actually, just flew last night from Manhattan to, man, get the speed under control. Just flew last night from Manhattan to Hutchinson to Manhattan. It's about a 3-hour flight in total. Did it all under Mach IFR, so I had a hood device on my head. It was a really good time. Flying is, man, it's just, even in the Cessna, man, it's just something else. I could do it, easily do it the rest of my life. You know, it's just truly an amazing experience. Kansas City Center 12572, gonna verify that is in the standby, 12572. yeah, it's
Chicago
just
Center, United 1051
so
with
much
you,
fun to
5.
fly. There's so much traffic out there, man. When you're flying cross countries like that far, you're gonna run into other planes. I do want to make more flying videos.
Up to 340 at
But right now I'm
gauge
doing
direct
instrument
TQ,
training.
United
It's
1051.
be pretty boring if you were watching it, I think. But definitely want to make some videos at some point. Maybe flying with some of my friends, taking some of my coworkers. I don't know. I also want to explore making some videos about weather, because that is my expertise. I went to college for weather, and you know that's what I do for a living at the moment. So I think it'd be cool to talk about weather on aviation, on an aviation-related note. But yeah, I'm really excited to cross the 100-hour mark. Probably gonna take a break. I've done like 5 flights in the last maybe 8 days or so. So I want to take a short break, focus on learning some of the theory for instrument flying. Focus on the theory a little bit, the ground school. Focus on some other things for a little bit. Do a little more YouTubing. But my goal is to get my instrument rating within the next 30 days or so. And once I get my instrument rating, start working on commercial, man. I want to become a CFI as soon as I can. I really want to start instructing part-time outside of my primary job. Instruct part-time, because I love teaching about things that I'm qualified to teach. So weather, I love to share weather with other people, talk about weather all day long with them. And, you know, hopefully in the near future, aviation is going to be the next one. And to get paid to do that would be really awesome. So right now we are just, you know, navigating our way to Alina. And, hey, man, this stuff's really cool. I mean, to be able to see this in real life, I know some people think maybe it's boring. I don't know, man. This is more just being cruising an airplane, even at 38,000 feet. Obviously, I've never been in the cockpit of a CRJ-700. But even cruising in the Cessna and just staring at your instruments, you know, because when you're flying by instrument, you are no kidding. Like, let me adjust this really quick. You are no kidding just looking at those instruments. And in a older aircraft, you don't have these fancy computer screens to look at. You're looking at, you know, these less fancy, you know, more forgiving instruments. And when I say forgiving, they have a little bit of error to them.
Contact KC Center 125.72.
Over to Kansas City Center, Envoy 2121, see you. Kansas City Center, Envoy 2121.
Good.
We're just checking in.
Okay, and your altitude?
Flight level 380.
Envoy 2121, roger. And just in the future, it's a Y, not a V at the end of that one.
Oh, did I put it in wrong? Yeah, I must not have been paying attention. My bad.
Nice.
LOL. I put it on our. Yeah, it is Y. Oh, I'm an idiot. I need to change that. I put ENV instead of ENY, but that's okay. It's a simulator. They understand what's going on. Anywho, yeah, I mean, cruise can be boring, I guess. I mean, when you're not getting paid to do it, sure. But, you know, even in the flight sim world, like, you know, this isn't really hard. You know, and if you're a student, you got time to, even with air traffic controllers, you have time to do homework or to have, I can get a laptop on my desk here that I could watch YouTube videos on, whatever. You just got to be listening for your name to be called. People ask all the time. I have a VATSIM tutorial for VFR flight. When I call it a tutorial, it's a very introductory level tutorial. But it's a you know, there's a lot that goes into it. What was I even going to say, man? I don't even know what I was going to go with that. Oh, people ask me all the time, how do you learn? You know, the first thing you got to be able to do is control the aircraft, right? Like if I was flying this and the controller needed me to make changes to my flight plan, I would need to go in here and I would need to reconfigure a flight plan. I would need to make changes. You know, if you know how to do that, if you could do that, then you're good to go. And you don't have to jump into an airliner to do IFR flights on VATSIM. You could do them in a Cessna. You know, but you're going to have to know the basics of flight planning and an IFR plan. Now the good news is the GPSs on the Cessnas are, you know, they're there. So you can fly, you know, pretty much any route, height or altitude, you know, permitting. You know, that you could fly pretty much anything. Those GPSs can pretty much do everything for you. And so all you need to know is the basic route structure. And for that, you can consult a lot of resources online. You can look at recently issued flight clearances. You know, SimBrief will do that for you. You have SimBrief to give you routes. You have all sorts of stuff at your disposal. So highly recommend people get into it. Just do the, you know, bare minimum homework. Make sure you know how to fly your aircraft. Make sure you understand some of the basics of ATC and all that stuff, because these guys are going to be very helpful and friendly. Man, I really got to use the restroom though. Alright, I'm going to go use the restroom. I will be back in just a moment. And I'm not going to let him know that I'm leaving. I'm just going to walk away. Okay, back in the cockpit after that short little break. Everything's still looking good. We are currently
2367, leaving the airspace to the southeast.
Currently 33 miles away from Alina. From Alina to St. Joe is about another 80 miles.
Too soon.
80 miles at
Mach
7.4. What's our ground speed?
Mark.
Ground speed 421 knots. So it's not going to take us very long to get 80 miles in. And then from St. Joe, I think St. Joe we should essentially start a descent. Now, interestingly, VNAV is not. Let's go ahead and clean that up for me. That's not allowed. Oh, I know it. I know it. I don't know why it's doing that, but usually all you got to do is select that and then put it in there, but it's saying not allowed. Alright, let's go to our VNAV page. Performance advisory VNAV is enabled, so it should give us descent guidance, but it's not. And it's saying not allowed. Well, that's annoying. Oops. Cancel that. Don't want to modify that. Clear.
Kansas Center, United 442 with you, flight level 330, correction, for flight level 360.
United 442, Kansas City, hello, and Chicago advise you need 10 minutes off?
Yeah, 10 to 15 minutes for 442.
That's right, report back.
What the hell is it not copying that?
442, appreciate it.
You really should just be able to copy and paste that. That's really weird. I'm guessing that the hold is the problem. But I don't want to hold. Well, let's just get a Goki on there. Execute. There we go. Now we have VNAV guidance. Okay. So there's our top of descent. So either air traffic control will step us down. They will probably step us down. So they'll give us descends because we're not flying an approach. We're flying directly to a VOR and then headed to an initial approach fix. So they're going to step us down. Probably, you know, hey, descend and maintain at your discretion. Descend no lower than 240 or something like that. That's the computer-derived, computer-specified top of descent. But we can go above that, catch up. We can start descending early if they give us descent clearance, and if it's at our discretion, then we'll just do it as we we'll just follow the VNAV profile, because the computer profile is going to be the most fuel efficient. The ATC is going to be as traffic obstructions, navigation, communication coverage allows. So we're maintaining. Oh wow, we're a little fast. yeah, step away for a little bit and your speed just starts to skyrocket. So go ahead and bring that power back and slow down for a little bit. But otherwise, a wonderful day to fly. Envoy 2121. What an awesome aircraft. Absolutely loved flying on the CRJs. I still do.
Southwest 1421, leaving the airspace to southeast, leaving the airspace.
A little better to fly on the...
changing the comments approved. See ya.
Southwest 1421, we thank you so much for the ATC, sir. You have a great rest of your afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Stop kissing my ass. Front 2680, leaving the airspace to the southeast. Memphis offline, ready to service terminate, frequency change approved. Good day.
Okay, interesting.
Frequency change approved. Good day. Southwest 680.
At a 1258, I'm going to be closing up. Ready to service terminate, frequency change approved. Good day.
Oh, he's closing shop.
Martin Unicom 122.8, United 1258. Thank you.
See ya, Delta 2131, same for you, leaving the airspace. Or I'm going to be closing up, changing the comments approved. 122.8. Good night.
So Kansas City Center is closing up shop.
2121, change to advisory approved. 122.8 to you.
All right, over to 1228. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, 122.8, and it's called advisory. Basically functions as CTAF in real life. So if you were flying to an uncontrolled airfield in real life, you'd go to the advisory frequency, and you just use that to communicate with other pilots in the area to avoid mid-air collisions and stuff like that. So now that we're on our own, we're just going to follow VNAV guidance on the way down and fly it all the way in, go direct to Agoki, fly the RNAV down to the runway. So we will continue our current, just continue on navigation. I mean, that's how it is going to be for the rest of the flight, because we have no ATC services now that Kansas City Center is offline. For a while, I've wanted to do air traffic control on VATSIM for so long. I've wanted to do it for so long. Landing elevation set, fuel check, TCAS set, radar check. I've wanted to do it for so long. Let's go ahead and do our landing data. So I've set the V speed. So what's VFTO? I don't know. But our target landing speed is 134 knots. Let's take a look at the weather at Manhattan. So 134 knots is our VREF. So that's our target approach speed. The weather at Manhattan is probably unrestricted visibility, pretty light winds. METAR, that's 61 minutes ago, so that's going to update pretty soon. 180, 10 knots, gusting to 20. 10 statute miles, clear skies, temperature 34, dew point 18, altimeter 29086. Cool. So 180, 10, gust 20. It's a left crosswind. And 10 gust 20. What does that mean for us? Well, that means that when we fly our approach speed, when we slow down to 134 knots, we're actually going to, our approach speed is actually going to be 134 plus the gust factor. What is the gust factor? Well, half the gust factor. So the gust factor is 10. All right, so it's 10 gust 20. So the gust spread is 10 knots. We add 5 knots. So we're actually going to fly 139 knots on our final approach path. 139 knots. The reason for that is if we have a sudden drop of wind speed of 5 or 10 knots, we're not, plummeting below our VREF. Because when we lose airspeed, we lose lift, so we start to sink a little faster, and things can get away from you if you don't anticipate that. So we always add we always carry a little extra speed in all planes, whether they be 747s or Cessna 172s. We carry a little extra speed, and that extra speed is defined by the gust spread. Now, if it was a steady 20 knots with no gust, like no kidding, it was just constantly 20 knots, we would still fly 134 knots. We wouldn't fly 139. We'd fly 134 because there's not going to be wild fluctuations in our airspeed. It's going to be pretty constant airspeed. So, top of descent is approaching us. We have our decision height set 200 feet. And really, we don't have minimums because we're going to be doing this visual because it is clear skies outside. Just played soccer, man. It's hot out there. It is hot out there. So basically a straight in approach, man. I mean, the heading, the runway is 2-1, so it's basically a straight in on the approach on this approach plate. So we're gonna fly in over to the city of Manhattan. You'll see the Manhattan. Well, I don't know if you'll see the Manhattan football stadium on the left because they don't have generic AI buildings to assign to a football stadium. So it won't look quite as awesome as if we were flying with photogrammetry, whatever that is. But yeah, Kansas State's got a football game today. We're going to be flying not directly over it. It'll be off to our left. It's actually going to be pretty cool flying this straight in for 2-1. I haven't done it in the sim, but I've done it in real life a couple times. So it's going to be cool to compare the two. I'm not going to lie. A little nerdy, but we'll see. Might be able to see my apartment. My apartment is off to the right of the final approach path. So we will... it'll be interesting to see. Alright, so we're approaching top of descent. So let's go ahead and set our bottom altitude. What are we... we'll set our bottom altitude because it's going to be basically a straight in descent since we don't have air traffic control. So I'll set the bottom altitude for now. We're not flying an approach plate of, let's say, 7,000. And since we're flying without air traffic control, we know that our minimum safe altitude within 25 miles of Manhattan is, I think, 4,000 or 3,000. Let's see what our obstruction clearances are. So we're about to have VNAV. Go ahead and switch to the IFR low. What our off route obstruction? 3.7. Yeah, so we should 4,000 feet will keep us clear of any obstruction. So we will descend to. I'll go ahead and set our bottom altitude of 4,000 feet. And of course, we're going to descend at Mach 7.4. Alright, so we've reached top of descent. We will go ahead and begin our descent. And we're going to do that by selecting the speed mode. Speed mode set. And we will descend at Mach 7.4. So we select speed mode, and all we got to do is pull the power back. The aircraft will maintain our selected speed by pitching the nose down. If you were in the cabin, you'd feel yourself leaning forward as we reduce that power, and then start our descent. Now, when you fly the CRJ, we have VNAV given to us. There's vertical guidance being given to us. It's coming from the flight management computer, and you can see this little star there. Now, I don't know what the deflection, so 1 dot, you know, I don't know what a half deflection is and a full scale deflection is. Difference between VNAV and what we're actually flying. But we are some odd feet below not a glide slope, but basically glide slope, you know, vertical guidance. So I'm going to add engine power and get that centered back on. So I'm going to add engine power because the speed's going to stay the same. So that means that if we add engine power, if we maintain the same pitch, we're going to increase speed. So what the aircraft has to do is increase the pitch to keep that speed the same. So it's getting we're getting a little away from it. So I'm going to add some more power until I start to see that asterisk start to slide down. There you see it starting to slide down. So now we can go ahead and start to, in a moment, reduce engine power. All right, let's reduce our engine power and capture that, basically capture that flight path. Don't want to do too much because then we're going to start to fall below it. I think 70% N1 should basically keep us where we want to be. We don't have to be directly on it. We're not worried about any, you know, altitude, speed restrictions or anything like that. We're going to maintain Mach 7.4 until we hit the crossover point, and then we're going to maintain 290 knots all the way down to 10,000 feet. You know, the nice thing about flying into smaller airports in less congested airspace is that you don't have as many altitude or speed restrictions. So you can pretty much fly your maximum forward speed all the way through to 10,000, and then you can fly 250 knots all the way down to like 4,000 feet once you start to configure for landing. So right now we're just flying basically Mach 7.4. Again, I don't know what's up with the discrepancy between the speed bug, the current Mach, and the target Mach. We're trying to target Mach 7.4. We're flying Mach 7.3, and the bug is showing like Mach who knows what. Now just switch this to indicated airspeed mode. So let's go ahead and accelerate to 290. Well, I don't want to accelerate too much because let's see. Let's just accelerate. We're going to accelerate to 240. Okay, so pro tip, if you need to accelerate, add engine power. Add engine power before you start messing with add engine power before you start messing with that speed stuff. So we're at Mach 7.3 right now, and as we descend, Mach is going to get lower and lower and lower. So we're still doing about 430 knots ground speed. Don't necessarily have to. So I'm going to add engine power and speed us up to 280 knots, and we'll descend at that. All right, now you can see we are well below glide path now, and descending at like freaking 5,000 feet per minute. So I could definitely stand to learn how to better control that, so it's not like a roller coaster for the folks in the back, but not too bad. So add just a little bit of, just a touch of power, get us back centered on there, so you can see that I'll call it a needle. It's not a needle, but it's basically square on in the middle, or pretty close to it. So we're gonna continue flying our approach and, a descent. It's pretty much a straight in descent. How are we doing on distance? So we are 80 nautical miles away from Agoki. This should get us down to 2,000. Let's see, what's our... So I'm not seeing the arc that shows our bottom of descent, but I am seeing Agoki start to show up on our primary flight display. There it is, 4,000. So not bad, but we probably need to accelerate our descent a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead, and how do we do that? Well, we just pull some more engine power out. Now, when we pull that engine power out, what you'll notice is that this starts to slide forward, and it's multiple miles forward, right? So, you know, you got to be kind of careful about how much power you take out. But knowing that we have to slow down from 280 knots to 250 knots at some point, we could do that. So, all right, let's go to our descent checklist. The only thing that we haven't done yet is set the altimeter for Manhattan. The Manhattan altimeter is currently, I think it's, let's go to the weather. Just got a new update. Damn, density altitude, 3,800 feet, man. For a 1,100 foot, for a 1,066 foot elevation, 3,800 feet density altitude is really high. 190, 10 gust 19, so that gust spread is still about 10 knots. So we're going to go +5 on VREF. Unrestricted visibility, clear skies, 3418, 29086 on the 29086 on the barometer. All right, 29086 is set. And we've got the RNAV approach loaded in, and going to start getting guidance from that once we start to get close in. Go ahead and set my heading indicator for present heading. And we are right on the descent profile, so everything's looking good. Yeah, everything looks good. Alright, we're crossing 20,000 feet, so at some point we're going to have to start to either use spoilers or slow down even further, because you could see that, you know, we're still tracking basically to cross Agoki at 4,000. So we can stand to lose a little bit more power. I think that river up there, so that river that you see up in that way, those are, sorry, lakes. That's Manhattan. So Manhattan is about right here, and the runway is going to be somewhere in that vicinity. So it's like so cool that you can see so far out, man. I mean, I've never been 20,000 feet above the sky, above the ground in a cockpit. So go ahead and pull some of that engine power out. Still 53 miles out from Agoki, so we don't have to nosedive here. We're still good. I just want to get that zoom back in. Just want to make sure that we are en route as we should. Topeka, Kansas is off to our left. I actually had to divert to Topeka on the check ride day. I took my check ride at Fort Leavenworth's airfield and had to divert to Topeka because the airport, Leavenworth, they had like 1,800 foot ceilings, and I wasn't going to fly under 1,800 foot ceilings, so I chose to divert to Topeka where it was clear skies, sat there for a little bit, and from there we waited a little bit, the ceilings rose, and then you know, went in, did my check ride, flew back to Manhattan. I think all in all I did 6 hours of flying that day. It was crazy. It was a long day. I was exhausted, but super proud of what I'd done, and you know, only just more to come. So you can see Manhattan somewhere up there. There's Tuttle Creek or Tuttle something lake, and then there's another lake. Oh, I need to mute my TV. It's loud. Hopefully you guys didn't hear any of that. Okay, so as we approach 10,000 feet, once we cross 10,000, or just before we cross 10,000, we'll have to slow to 250 knots, but we're still descending. There's still a good amount of distance out. Let's go ahead and descend straight down to 2,000. Yeah, so 2,000, we got to get that 2,000 down, basically where Agoki is. Now, you don't have to cross Agoki at 2,000. But, in fact, I think actually, based on our RNAV approach, you actually cross Agoki, like, Thought we might approach. Let's see. RNAV GPS 2.1. Final approach fix. Goki 2800. So there's a mismatch. Oh, it does. It says 2800. I thought that was 0. 2800 feet, no lower than. Okay. Alrighty. So making our way down. Alright. Let's go ahead and get those seatbelt signs on as we start to descend. Closer and closer to 10,000 feet. And pretty soon here we're going to slow to 250 knots. Everything's set up and configured to land. So descent checklist complete. Before landing, flight attendants advise pass sign on, thrust reversers arm, landing gear down, flaps as necessary. Obviously not going to do that until we're actually in the final phase of the flight. 7,000 foot runway at Manhattan. Winds are out of 190, so 210 is the runway heading, 190, that's about a 20-degree crosswind. Not the worst crosswind ever, but something that we will feel in our approach flight. We will feel on the way in. A little gusty, it's going to be a little bumpy. We'll see jumps in our airspeed a little bit, and that's why we're going to carry 5 knots extra. So VREF is 134, we're going to do 134 plus 5, 139 knots. Alright, we are approaching 10,000 feet. Now you can see things on the ground are starting to come into view. Starting to look more like actual world down there. Starting to see trees pop in. Alrighty. Alright, let's go ahead and get ready to slow to 250. 1,000 to go. Slow down to 250 knots. Okay, so it's choosing to trade. Alright, let's add some power. Slow that descent rate down. Add some spoilers. Down to 250. Spoilers. Right below 250 knots, landing lights on. So Manhattan is, I think that's Manhattan. Marshall Army Airfield is like, so there's Marshall Army Airfield. Manhattan's in this area. So the airport is somewhere in that area, Junction City, etc. So it'll start to populate as we get closer, but alright. Getting closer. Alright. Add a little bit of power. How many miles out are we from Mugoki? 18 miles. So we'd still be with Kansas City Center as they cover us while we're on our way in. But in reality, you could probably see the airfield from here. Now in the sim world, you can't. So that's Manhattan for sure. This is definitely the Manhattan area. Airfield, I'm trying to think. That might be the airfield right there. Airfield's either here or that might, oh, that's the airfield. I see the airfield. That's the airfield. So you get this low-res satellite imagery for the airfield. That's the, you can honestly see the runway. Is that the airfield? That might be it. It's one of these two. So approach would, you know, honestly be asking us, hey, do you guys have the runway in sight? And when we say yes, we have the runway or airfield in sight, Then they would take us into tower. So that is Marshall Army Airfield. That is runway 21. So we are now approaching our area. So we'll go ahead and slow down to 230 knots. Actually, go ahead and slow it to 210 knots. Once we get below VA, we can start to introduce slots and flaps. Right, below 230, flaps 1. What a beautiful, beautiful day to fly, man. All right, is this Manhattan, Kansas? All right, welcome to Manhattan. So there's our runway, Manhattan, Kansas. My apartment's somewhere in that vicinity. Where's the football stadium? Somewhere, football stadium somewhere here. I live over there. Blah blah blah. Go ahead and add some power back in. Slower descent a little bit. We don't want to get to 2800 too early. All right, so we've made visual with. This is a good. Yeah, we'd call in a Manhattan Tower Envoy 2121, 7 miles out, direct to Goki for runway 21, and then they would go ahead and be like, "Hey, yeah, make straight in, visual for runway 21." Now, all this swaying and stuff that you see, I believe, is because of all those winds. But we've got the runway in sight. Direct to Goki, final approach fix. We probably want to be configured to land by then. So let's go ahead and slow to 180 knots. Okay, we're going to maintain 180 until we get established at a Goki. So let's keep our descent going. I'm going to pull some of that engine power so we can keep our descent going. Probably don't want to go completely idle. Go ahead and flaps 8. Okay, we got, yeah, so there's the runway. Beautiful runway 21. And there's Manhattan, man. Let me see if I can see my apartment from here. Ah, so there's the Dillons. We're about to pass the Dillons. Where's Dillons at? Dillons is... Man, it's a lot harder to see. Is that it right there? Anyway, I live somewhere along this highway. Or is that Dillon's? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's Dillon's right there. I live somewhere in these. There's apartments over here that I live at. All right, cool. Now that I've showed you guys where I live, let's go ahead and fly this bad boy in. So the approach should come alive on a Goki, but maybe not. Gear down, flaps 230. And our speed we're going to set to 230 knots. 239, or 139 knots. That's our VREF. Alright, so we should get vertical guidance soon. I want to arm the approach, but in all honesty, we're probably going to fly this ourselves. Alright, we have disengaged autopilot, and I want to maintain 139 knots, so you can see we're essentially falling out of the sky right now. Add some of that nose up trim. Alright, so runway 21, clear to land, Envoy 2121. Flaps set, thrust reversers armed, landing lights on. Airspeed, way too slow. And we're high. A little bit of a left crosswind. Gonna feel that. In a heavier aircraft, maybe it's not as noticeable. I don't know. Okay, Loc 1 is engaged. Autopilot is disconnected, so we are hand flying this right now. And alright, there's our airspeed. Now we're a little high, so I'm gonna take some of that engine power out. Ooh, a little bumpy. Alright, falling below the glide path, so I'm going to add some engine power.
Sink rate. 400. Sink rate.
Alright. We are sinking like crazy right now. Alright, we need to add some engine power. Yeah, that's not something you want to hear on final approach, but...
Minimums. 1 sink rate.
Okay.
50, 40, 30, 20.
Maintain that pitch. Let the airplane come down. Wow, we're floating way down the runway. Alright. Put the... Whoa, 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 whoa. Reverser's active. And maintain center line. And that's what happens when you float all the way way too long down the runway. Hey, but we made it. We have made it to one of the smallest airports I've ever flown out of, and the airport that I fly out of in reality. Alright, contact ground 12185. It's going to be Alpha, left on Alpha to the ramp.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Welcome to beautiful Manhattan, Kansas. If you're flying in for the football game today, it is starting in just a few hours. Alright, turn these landing lights off. Leave the taxi light on. Strobe can come off. And if I had a co-pilot, he would be activating the... Or he would be spooling the... Turn that off? Autopilot should be off. Flight director. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put takeoff mode on. Don't know what that does, but obviously it wasn't too important. And we're just rolling in, man. 15 knots, fully, the engine power set completely idle. We have exactly 2 gates here at Manhattan plus a military ramp. The military ramp is off to the right. And the gate is obviously straight ahead. That was a fun short flight. You know, it's always fun to fly on VATSIM. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't normally do full-length flights. I like to cut them up, but hey, I thought I'd show you guys, I guess, everything. So let's go ahead and get this thing parked. I don't know how to... funny thing, I don't know how to shut the engines off on this thing. I've just... Yeah, I don't know how to shut the engines off. Let's go ahead and start the APU really quick. Okay, APU. And let's go ahead and square up to the jetway. Connected to absolutely nothing. That's cute. Watch out, big man. Watch out, boss. There's a freaking CRJ that's coming in. Oh, is he marshalling me? Are you serious? I've never actually noticed that. Is he going to tell me when to stop? Probably not. He's probably literally just going to do that until I decide to stop. How far, man? How far? It's taking me way too close. Let's go ahead and stop. Parking brake set. APU power. APU should be running. Can I figure out how to turn these off? Idle shut off. So these don't do anything. I'm gonna mess with this until I figure it out. Cause I want to shut the damn engine off. I don't know how to shut this off. Okay, maybe I should figure no, I don't know, guys. But hey, if you enjoyed the video, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, whatever. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. If you don't want to see anything like this, if you haven't even made it this far, who cares? I had fun. Always enjoy flying these planes. Always enjoy flying the CRJ. So hey, welcome to my hometown airport, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you and goodbye.